Alrighty, let's kick it off. Thank you very much, everyone. Benny Scullin from VR Fish. Street cred's important with rec fishing, so I thought I'd run up one of the fish that won me the Cod Nationals. Unfortunately, the Mulwhaler tournament guns tell me that it doesn't count because it was on spinning gear. So I'll give the internationally recognised hand signal for cod fish a greeting. I've just come off the water from a session at Mulwhaler without a glove. So a serious topic about what VR Fish does. VR Fish is an independent peak body for rec fishing, your peak body, if you like. We're a member-based organisation. Some of the things we do, we're funded out of your licence fees, and notionally we get $1.73 from every licence, and we spend that, some of that goes, I think about 8 cents to feeding me and looking after you. Ultimately, access is one of the big issues that VR Fish deals with, and access is on a number of levels, local, regional, state level. One of the local level issues that I have at the moment is, for instance, a council trying to kick kids off a lake in Melbourne so they can give it to a garden group. I thought that was a joke when I went to the first meeting. Regional level access issues, you might have heard of Greens Lake. This is a fishery in central Victoria that offline water storage, Water Authority wants to save $200,000 a year on pumps. They've decided to turn the water off, and there goes the fishery and a multi-million-dollar economic contribution to the region. And then at state level, big issues. Water's just one. Whole range of things VR Fish deals with. If I'm any good at what I do for a job, you won't even know. I will have fixed it, seen it and fixed it before you even see the tail end flitting across your social media. Where's Paul Carter? All right, one of the big statewide issues, you might remember there was a promise by the Andrews Labor government to bring in legislation to return all your boat registration and boat licence fees. That went through, the Better Boating Fund was created, and a week later a prohibition was removed from the Land Act to allow camping on Crown land. There's a lot of misinformation. It's a big issue, but very hard to cut through some of the misinformation. So I just thought I'd ask 2 questions. Hands up, who's been fishing within the last 10 years from a riverbank? Leave your hands up if you dump your rubbish there when you left. That's not what I'm being told. Now be careful, I'm about to show you something called legislation. If you see the person next to you nod off, just check their pulse gently. This is pretty dry stuff. The Land Act, what's all this camping on Crown land issue about? Well, there's a section of the Land Act, the law about using the land and public land, called Section 401A, and it's titled Anyone May Enter Water Frontage for Recreation. And you'll notice down at the bottom of that section, it says, but no person shall camp thereon. That's an express prohibition, no camping. That was introduced, that express prohibition, in 1983. Hasn't always been there, but for some, I can't find out why. And what the change that went through Parliament was, to that, it's all mucked up, but that bottom 6 words was removed, and that's all it was. Now, when I saw that as an advocate, I wasn't really that excited about it. The removal of an express prohibition in an Act of Parliament, in the primary law, really isn't that exciting, because the first part of that section says that any person may, subject to and in accordance with any regulations. So any rules. So there had to be rules. The removal of an express prohibition without rules means nothing. So a bill went through Parliament called the Parks and Crown Land Legislation Amendment Bill, and it substituted that section of law, and it looked like that. We simplified it, subject to regulations again, made under the Land Act. Any person may enter and remain on a licensed water frontage for recreational purposes. So that was all right. That's what it used to look like. And indeed there are to be regulations and rules made under that Act. That's what they normally look like. Currently there's consultation on how the rules are going to look for camping on Crown land. And they range from a whole range of things. Hopefully everyone's put a submission in. Things like the definition of camping. So what is camping? Well, it's sleeping in your car. It's having a swag in your boat when you pull up on the bank. That's camping. It's not hotels. An overview of the proposed rules for camping on this Crown land. We have to know what a regulated watercourse is. Regulation 35 says no Crown land strips beside a river shorter than 20 metres. Okay. Within 100 metres of a house. Riparian management works. No lake, lagoon, swamp or marsh, they're already prohibited, Crown land camping. Regulation 22 proposes to prohibit camping in areas being cultivated except with permission from the land manager, and Regulation 36 enables the land manager to even say you can't camp somewhere. I think they've got it covered. They even say where it requires a permit. So you might see in the news things like this, which is something we see. How wide's that bit of Crown land? Don't think there's going to be too much camping there. If you want to check if you can camp or even access Crown land, there's a program called MapShare. It's a good program. It's a GIS, it's just a map with plastic layers on top that are colour coded. So we can actually see, you type in an address, you choose public land. I don't know why this is doing that. Let's look at today's venue here, type it in, and it brings up the building next to a river, and it colour codes all the land status around the river. River's in purple there. You can see some yellow and some brown. And over on the left, because you've hit the public land button up the top, it'll tell you a few layers for the management. Grazing licence, riparian management licence, and the water frontage licence is what we're talking about with this camping on Crown land issue. So you can see there's no water frontage licence area there, but if you went downstream, you can see there's the start of a water frontage licence there. This is Crown land. You're legally allowed to go and fish there within the regulations. You can look in closer, you can see that it's quite a big strip of riparian land, but how do you get to it? Well, there's a road there. But if you look in the layer, it's an unused road licence. That's a similar issue, but technically you're allowed to go and fish there. Unfortunately, why is this issue so important for us at the moment is that if we don't retain this process and the outcome, we can see that in the inland fisher surveys, and this is river fishing, really important access issue. Interestingly, the Goulburn topped out. That was a good thing. If we don't not win this issue, but take it seriously enough to be involved, and this is some of the things that happen. Most of the time, I will have seen an issue and headed it off and You guys might see it in your social media. But this one, there's so much guff floating around about how you're all going to burn down houses and have gunfights and make it all a tip. If we don't win this, if you like, we're going to lose the access that we currently have. And every week there's a wreck fisher writing to me saying someone's put a gate up, someone's blocked access. And that's legal access that you have now. And if we don't have a say on this, and you'll see every now and again VR Fish will come out and say, heads up, need some help. Most of the time I'll deal with it. VR Fish runs on the sniff of an oily rag financially, but the volunteer effort that goes on from all our volunteers, thousands of hours, the knowledge to make sure you guys can go fishing when you want, legally, that's what this issue means to wreck fishers, or should mean. So if we lose this issue, if we don't have the clarity to say, well, I'm going to take the time to read about this and make sure that I know what this is, that the current Crown land, public land access, your ability to go to a riverbank, means that that's going to be reduced. That there is no ability to say to decision makers and other land managers that, no, you can't block access there. We're entitled to go and fish there. And that's a really important thing. So that's what this issue is about. So I thought I'd give you a heads up. Happy to talk about cod fishing. I just spent a couple of days at Mulwala and we got 14 fish on the first day to 88 centimetres. And that's the breadth of what VR Fish does. Thank you.